now, and welcome to a sport of political thought with Chickers the dog. I belongs to a wee lass in the States, and apparently hawking from across the pond. No one knows where, thus you'll hear me speaking slang from Ireland, England, Scotland, and Australia. You don't like it, you're on YouTube. Just click something else. No one asked you to stay. I'm off camera now. How do I do this thing? Oh, there I am. Close up. Okay. Backing off to the right. There you go. I'm back. Now, no background props. Not even a decent script. But if anyone watches it and gives me a few likes, I can put in more effort, eh? This is a 1.0 beta, so I can release a similar video later with your objections to my arguments and suggestions for topics you want explained. Often political topics are covered from a right or left-wing slant, and only supporting arguments are offered, so don't much matter which network you watch or listen to, you don't get the whole story. This don't mean one side or the other ain't right, it just means it's rarely as obvious as it's made out to be. I mean, think about it. If any political question were bleeding obvious, so many clearly intelligent people wouldn't still be asking about it. So, here's a go to explain one of the least well understood matters across the planet. Close up again. I'm trying to get centered on this thing. It's first time, like I said, it's beta. You don't like it, click somewhere else. Anyhow, blimey, left, right, where do I get? So, here's a go. Socialism. What is it? Why is it bad? Oddly enough, the question is rarely even asked, and is just taken at face value. Socialism is an economic system, nothing more. The two extremes of economic management are capitalism and communism. In capitalism, no one owns anything at all. That was raw. Anyway, I'll splice this later. Socialism is an economic system, nothing more. The two extremes of economic management are capitalism and communism. In capitalism, the government doesn't own anything, and all property in business is private, to include water, telephone, railways, electricity, police, hospitals, everything. In communism, no individual owns anything, and the government controls all businesses, including iPods, cars, televisions, hair salons, bars, and the very idea of a stock market is absurd. Now, if communism were adopted here in the States, conceivably, elected members of your bicameral Congress would dictate terms in how each industry would run. This would be democratic communism. It sounds strange, but it is theoretically feasible. Congress would determine the rates charged. I'm a bit low here. And then left, right. Boy, this is harder than it looks. Congress would determine the rates charged and the hairstyles offered by a hair salon. It could also say that the hair salon was unrestricted in what services it offered, and it could charge what it liked. The government could control things closely or offer flexibility. The two are not incompatible. Left, right, up, crikey. In that light, America, numerous private companies are quite strongly controlled. Power companies, cable TV, telephone companies, the postal service are all monopolies that must answer to their local governments about the rates they charge and acceptable levels of bad service. The government could run them directly, but instead private shareholders own trucks, buildings and cables while hiring people to maintain them. Extra money is commonly charged to customers and given to shareholders who own the monopolies. There is no alternative, so their service can remain atrocious, and yet they stay in business. left, right, sideways, damn. It all has all the downside of being government run, yet costs more. You can call it private and capitalist, but you're kidding yourselves. Roads in the States are almost entirely government run. Potholes sometimes don't get patches, and in some places the roads are quite beat up. But if a private company owned them, you'd likely get no better result, if the cable and electric companies are any guide. You can't get competition for these things because you'd need competing infrastructure. And building water and sewer pipes, roads, telephone wires and other fiber optic cables are ruinously expensive. And ruinously expensive to build just once, thus only one party can own them. There's also limits to space. It's hard enough widening a road. Do you expect you can double the space taken up by roads to introduce competition into a truly capitalist system? Some degree of government control is almost inevitable once one achieves the level of success where paved roads are a possibility. Socialism is the middle ground of capitalism and communism. Some businesses are government controlled, some are not. In most cases, the ones that are controlled face limitations of space or expense, much like those owned by private companies, regulated by government, or as slightly more socialist nations, owned and operated by the government outright. In no nation is all commerce controlled. Illegal black markets inevitably provide some amount of goods to the populace, even if it's only local barter between neighbors. Just as no nation is entirely capitalistic, government runs some form of business in every nation. Next page. Yes, I am reading from an impromptu teleprompter, but you try to memorize all this. I dare you. So don't go saying nothing untoward. The absurdity in which socialism is discussed here in the States stems from incorrect equating of communism with socialism, as well as an utterly oblivious view of the States. While the rest of the civilized world has public health for all with private care supplementing it for the wealthy, the States has public health for the old and the poor through Medicare and Medicaid. It's no different from socialized medicine. The entire public pays for their care. Children are covered also under CHIP programs. And even so-called private health care is partly socialist because companies are paid to provide it to their employees through tax breaks. Government pays for part of all employer health care programs. Finally, hospitals in the States get tax money to bring the uninsured back from death's door. They are required by government regulation to provide public health free of charge to anyone who's terminally ill. Everyone is covered by this, and therefore America has public health care. It's a damn stupid way to do things, to wait until people are deathly ill before you treat them, and they've infected their whole family and missed weeks of work, damaging their company's profitability. But it's no skin off my nose. I'm a dog, and I don't get free healthcare like that. So the differences between self-proclaimed capitalists in America and accused socialists in Europe are so minor as to make no odds. That Americans are under the delusion that there are wide differences causes tremendous amounts of pointless bickering, strife, and even a fair amount of needless suffering. If capitalism is so clearly superior, and America pushes for capitalism at all costs, why is it that America counts as its chief allies in its international affairs the United Kingdom, the most criticized and pitied socialist cesspool? Similarly, if socialism produces awful places to live, why is it that your richest capitalists find some of their favorite vacation spots in France, Canada, and Italy? They don't visit truly communist North Korea. They don't go to failed states like Yemen, where there is no socialism, because there is no government, the places the well-heeled like to gallivant are without exception socialist by their own definition. Why aren't such countries weighed down with supposedly disastrous economic policies so appealing? We can't possibly believe these people are slumming or roughing it. A livable, enjoyable community requires some degree of sharing extremely expensive luxuries of the modern states, including abundant potable water, electricity, and a transportation network. Placing a veneer of corporate ownership over a government-regulated resource does not produce vast, impassable chasms between nations. If so, we should be seeing vast differences in their economic prosperity, and we just plain don't. For those wishing to discuss public debt, insolvency, unsustainability, and entitlements, click the like button below, and I'll cover what national debts actually are, and why Americans completely misunderstand them. It'll be good, I promise. Click like, really. Anyways, cheerio, pip pip, and all that rubbish.